Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to lesson 11. In lesson 11, we are going to make an app that has two screens. This is our first screen, and that brings us to our second screen, and this brings us back to our first, second. So I have two buttons there to just bring us between the two screens, and then on each screen, I click a button here, and it changes the picture. We've done something like this before. I have 6 pictures here, so it just picks one of 6, and I go back to the other screen, the first screen. Once again, I can change the picture of the dog. So that's the app I'm going to show you how to make now. Second screen. Okay. So, like usual, I'll go File, oops, I'm on the simulator, File, New, Project, Single View App, Next, and I'm going to call this one, I'll explain in a few minutes, Coco Touch File, or just Coco Touch. I'm going to call it Coco Touch 3 because I have a Coco Touch 1 and 2 already. So you can just call it Coco Touch. Next. Create. So I'm going to go to the main storyboard. I'm going to add the view controller. So I've got 2 view controllers, as you can see, side by side. Just makes this a little bit smaller, it's easier to work with. So if you remember the simulator, I'll just give you a quick look at it. I had a label on each screen at the top. So I'm going to bring out the 2 labels. Okay. I'm just going to change the size here of this label. I'm going to say first screen. And make the size a bit bigger. I'm just going to click away from that, and that's good. I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to copy that then. Go here and paste it. What's after happening there? Okay, I'm going to click there again, copy, and I'll go here and I'll paste it. Now here I'll just call this second screen. Okay, just put it in the middle there, looks nicer. Then I want some buttons. I need 4 buttons, so I'm going to drag this button out. And I'm going to change the size up to 30, and I'm just going to say click to see to change, click to change picture. And I select that, I copy, and I go over here and I paste. And I can move it a little bit into the middle like that. That's nice. Then I want, obviously when we click the picture, the images will change here. So then I want an image view. So I click and I drag that out, copy, paste. Then I want another button to go from this screen to this screen and this screen back. So I'm just going to go and search for another button, drag it out, and I'm going to change the size here. I'll go to 35, that's good, and I'm going to say to go to second screen. Okay, put that in the middle, copy, I'm going to go here and paste it. Okay, copy, and paste. And obviously this is going to go back to the first screen, so I'm just going to change that here, just to make it look nice. Okay, so can you just do all this first? This is the first part. Get all this done before we move on to the tricky part. Okay, welcome back everybody, and now what we are going to do is we're going to set up the button so that the image changes. So if you can remember, I want to work with the Swift coding file. So this is the first screen. So I want to work with the view controller Swift file to get this to work. So I'll go in here, and there it is, view controller Swift. Okay. So here, this is where we're going to work from. First thing is I'm going to give the image a name. So I press Control and I drag out here, and I'm just going to call this first image. That's on the first image. So the image there is called first image. Now I'm going to press Control, and I drag the button out. This is an action because when the button is pressed, so I'm just going to call it button press 1, and I connect it. So what we want to do is when the button is pressed, the picture changes. So we need to control this. Oh, I need to get my assets. I forgot to do this. So I'm going to go back to the assets folder. And if you remember, I need to get my pictures of the dogs. So I'm going to go to my Finder. And here I have all the dogs image here. You should have something similar. I've got 8. So I'm just going to drag them out there. So there's my dogs. So I've got them back. So then here I need to go back to the Swift coding file. Okay, there now. So I need a variable now. So I use let number, and I'm going to call this number 1 because when I do this on the second screen, I'll call it number 2. Let number 1 equals an integer. Now you don't have to remember all this, but know how to write it. That is random. So it's an integer that is random, and this integer is between, if you remember the numbers I had 1 to 8. 3 dots. If you remember in the assets folder, I'm just going to get rid of this one. I had D1, D2, D3, so all the way up to D8. So that's I've now assigned this number can be any number from 1 to 8. This variable. Then what I want to do is to control what image comes here. So the image is called first image, so I go first image, so I'm saying for this first image I want the image that is showing there, well, let me get this right, it's lowercase, will be named. Okay, this is where you just kind of, after you do this a few times, you'll understand it. Will be named, will start with the letter D, but then the second part will come from the variable number 1. Okay, and I'm just going to finish this first, and I'll put a bracket there. Now what I'm saying here is, and I'm just going to get a bit more space, I'm going to make this smaller, make that smaller. So what I'm saying is generate a variable called number 1, and it can be anything from 1 to 8. When the button is pressed, the variable number 1 will be one of these. And then I'm saying here, this first image is what shows here. This first image will start with the letter D and have this variable in it. So it'll either pick D1, D2, D3, D4. So let's go and test this. And like normal, it takes a couple of seconds for the simulator, as this is my first time to run it. And don't worry about all these errors. These are all constraints. I didn't put any constraints on all this. Now if I click this, I have a mistake. Okay, let's see what I've done wrong. I'm just going to stop this. Okay, everyone, I was missing a bracket here, so make sure you put in this little bracket. That was the bracket I was missing, so we'll test this again. And we'll go to our simulator. And when I press the button, we should see happy, smiley dogs. We do. So that's working. Now, so I'm happy with that. Then, what we want to do is repeat the same programs here on the second screen. But the problem in XCode is we cannot put the coding for this view controller here. We need another Swift file. So I'm going to create another Swift file, attach it to this view controller, and then do the same coding again. So the new Swift file is called a Coco touch file. So I'm going to make a new Coco touch file. File, new file, Coco touch class, next. And I'm going to call it, I'm just going to call it, shorten the name there. I'm going to say VC Swift for second. Okay, so I know the name that's going to be the view controller Swift for the second one. That's what I'm using, so I can identify it. So I go next and I click create. Now I need to go here to main storyboard, and on the second screen, now I need to attach it. So here, I'm still on the second screen. I need to attach that Swift file. Hold on. So when I click on the second screen, as I've done there, I click on this identity inspector and I click on the drop down. You should see the one VC Swift for second. That's our second Swift file. So now I have attached it to this view controller. So now I'm going to open it here. And as you can see, the coding is not there. So once again, we're going to put in the same type of coding. So the first thing is, I'm just going to give myself a bit more room so you can see it. Can I do it this way? Okay, so for the image view, I press Control and drag it out. And if you remember the name, it's always good to try and keep the name the same. So I'm just going to call this image change 2, because we're on the second one. Okay, image change 2. And I'm going to go to the button. I drag this out. This is an action to change picture 2. Connect. And once again, we go back inside the button. So we say last time we used number 1, so I'm going to use number 2 equal. Now if you can remember from the last time, an integer which is random, and the integer is between 1 to 8. So generate a variable which is random between 1 and 2, and this is, yeah, everything's good there. Why is it giving me that is wrong? Oh, I forgot to put in the full stop there. So, like, you'll always make mistakes here, so about being able to find them. Now, so we want to change image change 2. So I'm going to give myself another line. Image change, change 2 is an image. UI image named def, remember we call them dog, / and then it's going to take this variable. Let me just make this bigger. I get rid of this. So it's going to take this variable number 2, number 2. We then close the bracket, we close the quotation, close the big bracket. And we've no errors. We have no errors, and it should be good to go. Now, one thing we didn't do was, remember, we have these 2 buttons to go to second screen and first screen. We didn't know, so I'm just going to move this one across. I'll click here and just press Control, and so it'll show this one. And then same for this button, I press Control, so it'll show that one. And now let's go and play the app. So the idea here is, guys, when you want to do coding, Swift coding, each view controller has to have its own Swift file. So you can see here on mine, I've got the view controller Swift on the first one, and then I've got view controller Swift for second on the second one. So let's just say that to go to second screen, to go to first screen, click to change picture, pictures are changing, go to second screen, click to change picture. Sometimes the picture doesn't change because it actually picked the same picture. Okay? Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoy, and hopefully you can make this. And actually, yeah, the last thing I want to say is make sure that if you have a number of view controllers and you're going to put Swift coding on them, you will have then 3 or 4, maybe 5 view controllers. You'll have one for the second view controller, you'll have one for the third, fourth and fifth. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.